Good morning, and welcome to worship, and welcome to this space and to this time as we gather together to be grounded and renewed and empowered. A welcome to those who are joining together in this space and those who are joining together online. It is good to be together. The days of Christmas, the time of New Year, the Feast of Epiphany, all of recent memory. But for today and for the next number of weeks, we enter into the season of Epiphany. And so as we enter into that season of light, that season of making the light flesh, of embodying the light and love of God, as we enter into that time, you'll notice some changes in our worship as we draw on the Epiphany theme of light and how we are to follow in that light. So we'll be introducing some new pieces of music today that we hope will ground you and ground us as we gather for the next number of Sundays in this season of Epiphany. And Weems, poet and author, reminds us that the birthing of love and light, of compassion and justice and peace and hope and compassion is not over. Indeed, our world needs us to continue to do that birthing of God in our world. And so in that season of Epiphany, we ponder how we are to make real the message of the Christmas season. As we gather, as always, I draw your attention to a number of announcements in this morning's bulletin, announcements that are there around the life and work and ministry of our church. You'll note the invitation around Grab and Go. Our Grab and Go program will resume for another school year as we get back on track in January. And if you've thought about being part of Grab and Go and offering your time and skills and talents and passion to making a difference in the issues of food insecurity, then you may want to speak to Mary McCullum this morning, or just Wednesday mornings. Drop by the hall or the kitchen and you can see Grab and Go volunteers in action and learn more about that, and you'll note that there. Also next Sunday, just a note around next Sunday that it is Second Cup Sunday, and so come a bit early and catch up with one another and enjoy a cup of coffee, tea, juice, and just conversation. So that's also in your bulletin there. We made this invitation last year, and I want to make it again around folks who are looking for safe and warm places to walk and stroll. We have a wonderful facility that is warm, that is safe, whether it is the sanctuary or the hall downstairs, and a number of people take advantage of that and arrange to come in and spend a half an hour just walking during the day or in the evening, just to get some exercise and to get some light in this season. So if you're interested in coming and walking, whether it's in the sanctuary or in the hall, just let me know, because there are activities that are happening, and I can make sure it's a time when there's nothing going on, and also ensure that I can give you access to the sanctuary or hall. So the invitation is there, and we offer it to you. Are there other announcements that need to be made as we gather that are not in the bulletin? I know that kind of after Christmas into New Year, there's times that we're apart and we kind of get disconnected from all that's happening with one another in our lives. And I'm certainly aware that a few birthdays have been celebrated over the last number of weeks. So if I've missed you, you need to tell me. But I know Angie Burrell had a New Year birthday. No, Christmas, Boxing Day. Christmas. I knew it was one of those days. Angie Burrell's a Christmas baby. So Angie had her birthday on Christmas Day. Sharon Shivery had a birthday this week. Dave Poss, you had a birthday this week. Ross McLeod, who often joins us online, had a birthday this week. And I know that Randy Gilby is having a birthday in the upcoming week. And Hank and Clyde, who are not here this morning, but often in worship, I think they're celebrating a birthday this week. So those are some of our birthday babies. Any other birthdays that I've missed? You had a birthday? I'm sorry I missed that. So, Carrie had a birthday. Anyone else with a birthday? Well, let's sing happy birthday. Rhonda Brown, who may be joining us from Florida. She's having a warm birthday today. It said that birthdays are good for you, so it's good to celebrate, and worship is good for you, isn't it? And so we gather in this place. In these days, still feeling caught between old and new, between what has been and what is still yet to be, in this crossover place we gather. In this day, may we choose what we need to hold on to, what we need to let go, what will ground us, what will guide us. In this time of worship, may we find a place and a space, a faith-filled place, a holy space, where we can find deep wisdom, holy inspiration, and renewed commitment that will be our companions into a new year. In the beginning, before all that came to be, when all was void, a vacuum, there was the Word, full of potential, preparing to write a story across the stars, to create potential for stuff and matter, for solar systems, for carbon and water, for life and light, shining with hope, light in the darkness, guiding and growing, witnessed in the wilderness. The Word came into the world, acknowledged by some, rejected by others, inviting faith. The Word incarnate, love come to earth, in flesh and breathing, revealing grace and truth. Again and again and again, we welcome you. to find the lost and lonely ones, to heal the broken soul with love, to feed the hungry children, to feel the earth below and the sky above, to free the prisoners from all chains, to make the powerful care, to rebuild the nations with strength and goodwill, to see God's children everywhere. It is the call of faith. Not always easy, is it? To embody the light, the love, the peace, the justice. And so it is that as we are empowered to be about the work of God in our world, the work of the beloved community, we're also called to take the time that we need to nurture ourselves so that we can be about that work, because it is hard work. For many of us, the spiritual practice of prayer is one way we nurture ourselves, and indeed prayer takes many different forms for each of us. But one of the spiritual practice we often engage in prayer is that practice of the breath prayer, the practice of pausing, of taking a moment to empty and to be filled, to open ourselves to the working and the words of God, to the Spirit of God deep within and all around. Prayer is a path where there is none. It is our path in the midst of the injustices of our world, in the midst of struggles of life, in the midst of the darkness and the worries and the wonderings. Prayer is a path where there is none. So seeking to be attentive to the musings of God's presence, we pause, grounding ourselves in this time and place, using our breath prayer. So I invite us just to take a moment to become aware of our breath, that moving in and that moving out of breaths. Ruah, Pneuma, Spirit. And then as you become attentive to your breath, on the breathing out, simply offer the prayer, I am empty. And then on the breathing in, I am filled with all that is holy. I am empty. I am filled with all that is holy. I am empty. I am filled with all that is holy. I am empty. I am filled with all that is holy. breathing in, the breathing out, the breathing out, the breathing in. God's goodness and love enfolding us, around us. God's goodness and love within us. God's goodness and love at work through us. Good morning, friends. Do I have a few friends who will join me up front for a moment together? I have props this morning. And I know others have props to help me out this morning. Great. Thank you. How's everyone? Are you excited? Are you? You know why I'm excited? Because we're going to be learning a new song today. And I love learning new songs. And I love new songs that make you want to move and groove and send us out dancing. Do you like moving and grooving and dancing? Good. I brought something with me before we learn our new song. Anyone know what this is? And nope. I thought about that this week. But then Bellamy and Harper showed up with two things that are going to help me. What is this? A radio. Anyone have one of these in their home? No. Your grandma? Yeah. I guess I could be your grandma. Anyone have a radio in their home? Yes? Where's your radio? Does it look like this? No. This is, I don't know how old it is, but it's pretty old. I'm not even going to plug it in because look at all the dust inside. It doesn't even, but I'm not even going to, because I'm not sure our insurance would cover me if I set me on fire by plugging this in. But what you would do, you see this dial? This dial would show you channels, and you would, you would tune in by changing this knob. You would tune in to find the right channel to listen to what you want to listen to. So, maybe you don't have that type of radio, but anyone have a radio that looks like this? Yes, you do have a radio that looks like this. And when you turn it on, this not only has a CD, but it has a radio here. What's that? Static. And what does static mean? I have to turn down the static so I can hear. What does static mean? No channel. So what do I need to do, Randy, when I get static? I need to tune in. And on this one, you can do it this way. That's a little bit better. Close? Not quite close. I love this song. How could I get my favorite song? Maybe we'll have to learn this. Yeah. You're going to sing it for us? That is static. And to get rid of static, we need to tune in. And then what showed up today in worship, but can you see, can you hold up what you have? Anyone can see what they are? Who has walkie-talkies at home? I know. And what happens with walkie-talkies? You get static with walkie-talkies. I didn't think about that until they came today with walkie-talkies. If you don't have the right channel on your walkie-talkie, you get static. And what happens when there's static? Yeah, you can do an example. What's the, if you have, if you press it, you keep on pressing it. Yeah, that's static. And then you have to find the right channel, right? You just hold the button and it does it for you. Not like the old radio where you have to tune in. So what we were, this song is called Tune In. And it talks about how we need to tune into God. That sometimes there's so much busyness in our head, right? Or in our world. There's so much static around us. Like that if we have that static, we can't really listen to God or what God's saying to us. So it's about tuning in to God's love. And you heard static before, yes, sometimes on the phone. On your dad's boat, right. He has something that's similar to a walkie-talkie. So this is a song called Tune In. And for those who have a bulletin, the words are in the bulletin, but I think it'll be easy for us to learn. So can you listen to these words for me? It goes, tune in, there's a message coming in. Tune in and see the signs of God's love. Don't let the static drown it out or fill your head with fears and doubts. Tune in so you can hear God's call. So we're going to hear the music and then we'll try to sing it through. And we're going to do this for a number of weeks, so we'll learn it. So don't get too worried today if we don't get it quite right. Okay? So are we all going to tune in this week? We'll tune in. We'll try to let all those static, all the busyness, and maybe tune in so that we can not only hear God speaking to us, but we can also see God all around us. You should let the static out. Let the static out. We're going to try to let the static out of our brains and our lives so that we can tune in. And we're going to continue to learn this song each week, okay? It's not working. Uh-oh. Too much static. So I'm going to see you after worship. And sorry, Jeannie. Be kind to Jeannie with the static so that you can tune in to Jeannie. Okay? And we'll see you after worship. Is this Maeve? Is this yours, Maeve's? Oh, you'll give it to her. Thank you. Can we play Tune In one more time? as I named as we gathered, we are technically in the season after the Feast of Epiphany. And indeed, last Sunday in worship, we marked the Feast of Epiphany with story and song. But today I wanted to hold on and to continue to ponder the ancient story as we move back to Matthew's Gospel and to what is the traditional story for Epiphany. But first we turn to the Hebrew Scriptures and to the prophet Isaiah. It is a reading for the Feast of Epiphany that is often paired with Matthew's Gospel, as it uplifts themes of manifestation and light. Though when we come to the story of Herod and the Magi, as told by the Gospel writer we name as Matthew, Matthew cites another prophet, Micah. But as the biblical scholars suggest, Matthew also drew upon these words from Isaiah 60. In historical context, Isaiah 60 comes from that part of a biblical text that's filled with words of despair and pessimism and frustration. There's lamentation and there's pleading in the face of God's silence. Injustice, oppression are overwhelming the people of God and indeed the prophet. However, Isaiah's words are a sort of oasis of hope in the midst of despair. The prophet reminds his people that God is at work, that a new community, the beloved community of God, will emerge. The people are invited to look around, to tune in, to see, for the light of God is always breaking through. Invite Ruth to share with us our Hebrew scripture.
Our Hebrew scripture is taken from Isaiah chapter 60, verses 1 to 6, titled, Arise, Shine. Jerusalem, stand up, shine. Your new day is dawning. The glory of God shines brightly on you. The earth and its people are covered with darkness, but the glory of God is shining upon you. Nations and kings will come to the light of your dawning day. Our God said, open your eyes. Look around. Crowds are coming. Your sons are on their way from distant lands. Your daughters are being carried like little children. When you see this, your faces will glow. Your hearts will pound and swell with pride. Treasures from across the sea and the wealth of nations will be brought to you. Your country will be covered with caravans of young camels from Midian and Ephah. The people of Sheba will bring gold and spices, singing in praise of me.
And so we return to Matthew's Gospel and the story of the Magi, but moreover, the story of King Herod. For today, we are lengthening what is often read as a story for Epiphany, where it focuses on the Magi. The word Epiphany comes to us almost directly from the Greek, meaning upon or on, and phananos, which means visible or seen. So epiphany means to show up or to show on or to show out. So an epiphany is that light bulb moment, that aha moment, but it's also something deeper, something more. An epiphany is revelation. It's something showing up, something shining on, something showing out, something revealed to you. Light shines and something or someone is revealed. Something new that previously was not known is now known. And so we turn to the Epiphany story.
And this story comes to us from Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 to 18. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out. And there, ahead of them, went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. Now after they had left, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." Then Joseph got up, took the child and his mother by night, and went to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I have called my son." When Herod saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, he was infuriated, and he sent and killed all the children in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he had learned from the wise men. Then was fulfilled what had been spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. A voice was heard in Ramah, wailing and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be consoled because they are no more.
Herod was not a popular king. Herod was brutal. He was ruthless. He was hated. Herod was a puppet ruler of Rome. Herod was a king that himself was so fearful, so desperate to maintain his wealth and power, that a visit from these wandering astrologers was a threat to him. The biblical text uses these words. He was frightened. Or in other translations, he was afraid. He felt threatened. Herod was frightened. For this baby, this child, this person who is to be the true king of Israel is the one that these astrologers have come looking for. They've not come to pay homage to Herod. They want to pay homage to the real king of Israel. That word, homage, is used throughout the biblical text. And it's about reverence, but it's deeper than that. It's a reverence that one does for royalty, or moreover, for one's God, to give homage. So this one that the astrologers are seeking is not Herod, and it's not anyone in Herod's lineage. Herod was frightened. And indeed, as the gospel writer tells the story, all Jerusalem is frightened. For the prospect of a competing king for troubled, ruthless Herod is not good. For a troubled Herod is a dangerous Herod. And this troubled, dangerous king does what he has done before. He acts out of fear. If you know your biblical stories or even your history, biblical history, you know that Herod has already murdered. He's murdered his brother-in-law. He's murdered his wife's grandfather. He's murdered his wife, her mother, and he's murdered 2 of his own sons. Herod is not a nice person. But he puts on a good show for these visitors from the east. Now, at this point in the story, if you read the story, these wise ones, these astrologers, don't seem very wise at all, do they? I mean, after all, they had all the stars and charts. They're trying to find this new king, and where do they end up? In the wrong place. Their GPS wasn't working for them. So they end up in the wrong place. But that wrong place is in fact the most logical place, Jerusalem, the place fitting for the birth of a king. But yet again, the gospel turns the story on its head, because this king is a different king. This king is not Herod. This king is nothing like Herod. The king the wise ones are seeking will not be found in Jerusalem. This king is different. And Herod knows this, and his chief scribes know this, and the prophets know this. This king is different. And so, back to the biblical story. Herod is visited by the wise ones. But Herod is sly, is he? He invites the wise ones to the palace. He listens, finding out what they know, what they believe. He even offers them safe passage through his kingdom for the journey. Herod presents himself as a person of faith, just wanting to know, what's the exact location of this threat, this birth? In the words of the gospel writer, when you have found him, bring me word so I may also go and pay him homage. But as the gospel writer continues the story, the Magi did indeed find the exact location. They found the one born to be king. They offer their gifts. They worship him. But, warned in a dream, they do not go back to Herod. They went home by another road. That's often where our Epiphany story ends. But the gospel story continues. Herod is infuriated. He learns of their defiance. Herod becomes aware that he has been tricked. He has been outsmarted. He has been deceived. And Herod's temper rises, and as I said, a troubled Herod is a dangerous Herod. And so if he can't focus his rage on the one he wants to find, he will focus it on everyone. A massacre of mass proportions. And so that evocative tale of the Magi that's often depicted on our Christmas cards, that's acted out with paper crowns and sung about with such joy and promise, takes a radical shift as Herod sends out his orders to kill all the children in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old or under, according to the time that he had learned from the wise men. All the children. Herod is so fearful, so enraged, so threatened that he murders. It is unbridled brutality, unimaginable cruelty, unspeakable horror. And why? To protect power and status and privilege. The lives of the weakest members of our society, of that society, are disposable, all to protect power and status and privilege. Certainly a different end to the Christmas story, isn't it? Babies in danger, not in a manger. Angels' song of peace and goodwill drowned out by weeping and lamentation. But yet, even in this gospel story, the proclamation and the promise of the gospel writer rings out, because it was offered just a few verses ago in Matthew's text. The one born to be king is Emmanuel, God with us. God with us in the manger, God with us in danger. Public theologian Diana Butler Bass, in reading and pondering this passage, begins with this wonderful, at least I think it's wonderful, editorial note to the Matthew reading. She writes, "The following story is biblical, but it does not depict an actual person or event. Any similarity to persons, living, dead, or recently elected presidents is purely a matter of divine intervention." She continues, "Even when Christmas does not come easily, peace on earth terrifies and threatens those who have prospered under the Herod order. Corrupt kings will lie and murder, do anything to stop the possibility of God's dream made real in our world. Herod was one more tyrant in our brutal history of tyrants. When it comes to human governments, there will be good rulers and there will be mediocre ones. But there will always be oppressors aplenty, even after the Prince of Peace is born. Another Herod always awaits, standing at the ready, evil intentions primed to execution. But what do we do when Herods are on our thrones? What do we do as people of faith in face of the tyrants and the bullies and the Herods of our day? Butler Bass responds, "Be like the Magi, those ancient wise ones. Do not obey, discern deceit, trust the truth. Be brave. Following a star means moving. Keep on the journey. Trust the way. The star will stop, and then we can kneel and worship and choose joy. Even when Herod enacts evil schemes, God is with us. Love is here, born into the world again and again. So offer your gifts, travel light, give thanks, pay attention, and do whatever you do to take another road home. Do whatever you do to take another road home. Do whatever we can do to take another road, to follow another way, a road, a way of our choosing, yet a road and a way that is of God's choosing. In a world that is filled with Herods of our day, we are invited again and again by the gospel message, by the message of our faith, to choose another way. A way of peace, of compassion, of belovedness, of affirmation, of respect, of life, of liberation and justice, the way of God's beloved community, the way of Emmanuel, God with us. A way when we are called to embody Emmanuel through our loving and through our living, through our speaking, through our acting, through our way of being. Because when we choose another way, we are being faithful to the gospel. When we choose another way, we are giving hope. When we choose another way, we are part of the work of God in our world. When we choose another way, we are the people God created us to be. When we choose another way, our world will know that indeed God, love, peace, justice, hope, however you want to add to that litany, when we choose another way, all will know that indeed Emmanuel, God, is with us, God is within us, and God is at work through us. So let us choose another way. May it be so. The season of Advent is about awaiting the coming of God's light and love. And then the season of Christmas is about celebrating how that light and love becomes flesh in the one named as Jesus. The season of Epiphany turns it to us. The season of Epiphany asks, how are we going to embody that light and love in our lives? As it said, Jesus said, I am the light of the world, but Jesus also said, you are the light of the world. And so the season of Epiphany often offers to us a chance to pay attention, to tune in to those glimmers of light and love, to pay attention to the work of God in our lives and in the life of our community and the life of our world that's all around us. And so as we give thanks this day for the many gifts that enrich our living, I invite you just to think for a moment of those glimmers of light and love that perhaps you tuned into in these last couple of days. A moment that felt that you could feel God at work in your life or at the work in others, or something that happened that just invited you to pause and to become aware of a deeper connectedness to God or to creation or to others. Those glimmers of light and love. Those people who embody light and love in our lives. Those glimmers. Certainly for me, as watching some of the news reports from the fires of California and seeing those first responders and neighbors caring for neighbors, those glimmers of light in the midst of devastation. Pay attention to those glimmers today and the days to come, and give thanks for those who embody peace and justice, grace and compassion and kindness. For our world needs more of that. Our ministry is a way that we offer glimmers of light and love to our community and in our world as we seek to live out the message of Jesus. I am the light of the world. But moreover, we are called to be lights in our world. May it be so. We dare to imagine a world where hunger has no chance to show its face. We dare to dream of a world where war and terror are afraid to leave their mark. We dare to believe in a world of hope, unchained, and lives unfettered. We dare to share in the creation of a world where people break free. So, what are you daring this day? May the realm of God come. May God's will be done this day, every day. before we move into our blessing and closing sung blessing, just a few words about our closing for today and for our next couple of weeks. You've already heard it sung. Our choir offered it just a few moments ago. It's a new composition by a United Church of Christ minister, so a minister within the United Church of Christ USA, and musician Christopher Gundy. And it's called Take Us Home by Another Way. And there was a little bit of a note about the piece in your bulletin. But just to remind you, it was written in 2022. And Gundy says it was his way to offer new meaning to the Matthew's text and to the Feast of Epiphany, January 6th. But it was also his way to respond to the first anniversary of the 2021 January 6th attack and insurrection on the U.S. Capitol building. Gundy writes, in the face of the Herods of our day, in the face of the tyrants of our day, it is a song of resistance. Going home by another way, he writes, is hard. And so he wanted musically to uplift that in the lyrics, and he wanted to uplift the call of God to go home by another way, to be a people of resistance with gusto. And so that's why you may have recognized a similarity in the tune to maybe the tunes of Stan Rogers. Gundy's deeply inspired by Stan Rogers' music in this composition. And so it is a song of resistance, a song of empowerment, it's a song of going forth, a song of a commitment. And so we go into our day, we go into our week with persistence and resistance, and we're empowered to follow in the way of God. So as we sing Take Us Home by Another Way, feel that empowerment as we go into the world. And I also know that following our song of blessing, that Laura and Randy will be sending us out with some dancing music, and they've said if you feel like dancing, then dance along. So we're going to go out with a big push this morning into our day and into the world. We go blessed, we go to be a blessing. For what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. May the love of God reshape us. May the ways of Jesus call us. May the workings of the Spirit empower us. For as this worship service ends, our service begins.